Zombies are one of the most recognizable creatures in the horror genre. But in an effort to switch things up, filmmakers add gimmicks in order to bring new life to the undead genre. Among them is the common trope that is known as the smart zombie. These are versions of the undead that exhibit signs of intelligence, increased awareness, autonomy, and in some cases even speech. So with that in mind then, I'm Ellie with What Culture here with the 10 smartest zombies in horror movies. Number 10. The Hawking in Zombieland Double Tap. 2019's Zombieland Double Tap brought back the original cast while introducing new types of undead. When the virus began to mutate, this leads to new variations of zombies like the Homer, who was dumber than a regular zombie, the Ninja, who was sneaky, and the T-800, which was more durable. But by far the most interesting variation has to be the Hawking. Named after the famous physicist Stephen Hawking, these creatures exhibit a higher capacity for intelligence despite sharing the same physical attributes as other zombies. An example seen in the film is during the Hawking's introduction. The zombie is seen chasing down a hapless scientist. The man gets to safety by entering a room only accessible by a retinal scan. Unfortunately for him, this clever undead bites off a dead scientist's eye and uses it for the scanner, which allows her access to the room and her meal. It's a shame then that despite the interesting concept, these variations don't make a bigger appearance in this sequel offering. Featuring the Hawking more would have made for an interesting challenge and a dangerous obstacle for our heroes. Number 9. The People of Potter's Bluff in Dead and Buried. In 1981, Dead and Buried was banned as a video nasty in the United Kingdom, but has received praise for its quality and for Stan Winston's makeup work. The picture focuses on Sheriff Dan Gillis, who works with local mortician Dobbs as they investigate a series of grisly murders. But these aren't just regular killings, as the victims reanimate and become the film's take on zombies. The difference here is that the creatures can only be created through a violent death and are unaware of their undead nature unless their creator tells them so. In fact, their loyalty and their sentience make them more intelligent than previous incarnations of the undead. To increase their numbers, these beings are ordered by their creator to murder unlucky tourists. We later find out that Dobbs is the one responsible for the zombies and that the entire town is undead and under his control. Even Dan himself is revealed to have been dead all along by the film's twist ending. Number 8. The Professor in Patient Zero. Patient Zero stars Matt Smith, Natalie Dormer, and Stanley Tucci, and is about a group of survivors who try to find an antidote to a virus that turns people into the infected. In order to make a vaccine, they need to find Patient Zero, hence the movie's title. The film's main protagonist, Morgan, is a man bitten by the zombies but is immune to the virus and has the ability to communicate with the horde. But aside from Morgan, the infected also have unique traits such as becoming zombies through a strain of rabies. Though this makes them violent predators, they are able to communicate with their fellow infected, form viable plans, and even play possum to attack their foes. The smartest member of the undead, however, comes in the form of Stanley Tucci's character, who is known as the Professor and is captured and taken into a bunker. He speaks like an articulate man and claims that his people are an evolved version of humanity. The Professor could even fight, as seen in his duel with Morgan, while calling in fellow infected as backup. Number 7. The Dark Seekers in I Am Legend. In Richard Matheson's novel, I Am Legend, the creatures that Robert Neville fought exhibited traits of vampires. They had the stereotypical aspects of the nocturnal animals, such as weakness to garlic and holy symbols. In the 2007 Will Smith film, however, the Dark Seekers were portrayed as a hybrid between vampires and zombies. These versions were initially humans who were infected by the crippling virus, but did not die from it. Instead, they become nocturnal creatures who are faster than a normal man and can build complex traps from memory. The vampire part then comes from their weakness to UV rays, which meant they only lurked during evenings. But in the film's original ending, which was closer to the source material, these creatures are revealed to have been more than what they seemed. Earlier on, Neville had captured a female Darkseeker whom he used for his experiments. When the Alpha follows him by the end of the movie, it's revealed that he was simply looking for his mate all along. After realizing that he has become the monster in these creatures' eyes, Neville gives him back his mate and the Alpha and his group leave our protagonist alone. Number 6. Captain Wafner in Overlord. Overlord is the 2018 horror film that brings the World War II genre together with a zombie flick. Captain Wafner is the main antagonist of the picture and is a Nazi commander responsible for experimenting on people and turning them into zombies. As a human, the captain coerces a woman named Chloe for sex and obviously, as a Nazi, is generally a terrible person. In the middle of the film, however, Wafner is shot in the face by one of our heroes and is given 2 doses of a serum. This serum gives the user the ability to exhibit superhuman strength and even a healing factor, but at a cost. While intended to be used to create invincible soldiers for the Reich, the serum instead turns people into vicious zombies. The transformation process turns Waffner into an even more monstrous version of himself. His visage becomes horrifying, with a huge hole in his face while sporting sharp teeth. At the same time, because he was alive when he received the serum, the character retains his intelligence but becomes more psychopathic. Thankfully, the captain is killed by Private Boyce before he could cause more trouble. Number 5. Tarman in Return of the Living Dead. The Return of the Living Dead, unlike the George A. Romero Dead films, features zombies in a more comedic tone that was unique at the time. They are portrayed as fast and as strong as a normal human while having a craving for brains. Whereas a regular zombie could be killed by a blow to the head, these creatures need to be cremated in order to die. The most recognizable member of the Horde from this 1985 film is the Tarman. Despite his horrible appearance, he exhibits a comprehension greater than his brethren. He was also the first zombie to ever be articulate, as he could speak words and say intelligible phrases. Tarman's mental capacity is best seen when he uses a chain and a lever to pry open a metal door to reach his target. Because of this, he is one of the most formidable zombies ever to be put on screen. Despite presumably dying at the end of the film, a similar Tarman made an appearance in 1988's Return of the Living Dead Part 2 and 2005's Return of the Living Dead Rave from the Grave. Number 4. Big Daddy in Land of the Dead. George A. Romero returned to the series that made him famous with 2005's Land of the Dead. The film took the next logical step in the zombie genre and introduced new concepts to the post-apocalyptic world. When it came to the idea of the undead, Romero expanded on the character of Bub from Day of the Dead by exploring the increasing intelligence of zombies. This was best seen in the character of Big Daddy. The zombie was a gas attendant and lurked there until the events of the film. His mental superiority among his peers is first seen when our protagonists use fireworks to distract the Horde, which works on everyone except him. When he sees his fellow zombies get killed by the humans, Big Daddy starts an uprising and leads the Horde towards Fiddler's Green, the film's primary setting. In order to get to the city, he guides his people underwater as he knows they cannot drown. His uprising then culminates when he kills Kaufman, the ruler of the city. Satisfied with his revenge, Big Daddy and his Horde then leave Fiddler's Green by the end of Land of the Dead. Number 3. Don in 28 Weeks Later. Donald Harris was a man who abandoned his wife Alice to the infected during the opening of 28 Weeks Later. When he discovers Alice has survived, the two reunite and kiss. Unbeknownst to Don, his spouse has become a carrier of the rage virus, which infects him and leads to him killing Alice. Don then becomes the primary antagonist of the film and re-spreads the infection among the human population. What set him aside from his fellow zombies, however, was his retained mental capacity. Robert Carlyle's character was able to escape a locked room using a keycard he remembered as a human being. At the same time, Don had the dexterity and functions of a man as he murdered Scarlet with a blunt force weapon. Finally, he retained memories of his family even under the rage virus, though that didn't stop him from trying to hunt them down throughout the film. Combining the unstoppable and brutal nature of the rage virus and human beings' capacity to think made Don a dangerous foe in 28 Weeks Later. Thankfully, his daughter Tammy kills him before he could wreak more havoc. Number 2. Zeus in Army of the Dead. In Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, a soldier experimented on in Area 51 escapes and starts the Las Vegas outbreak. Inspired by the statue in front of the Olympus, he becomes Zeus and is the undisputed king of the undead. Zeus leads the massive zombie horde while having the ability to infect others and turn them into alpha zombies. At the same time, he showcases several intelligent qualities, such as introducing the concept of culture, sharing a relationship with a fellow undead, and even having the dexterity to ride a horse. He could even use weapons and wear protective gear to stop any potential headshots from killing him. When his partner, the Alpha Queen, is beheaded by one of the humans of the picture, Zeus leads his army to hunt down our heroes and kills several in the process. His trail of revenge would come to an end when he follows Scott Ward and other survivors into an escape helicopter. There, he duels with the hulking man and even manages to infect him. Scott, however, is able to land a gunshot on Zeus, ending his reign for good. Number 1. Bub in Day of the Dead. Bub was introduced in George A. Romero's Day of the Dead and is probably the most famous example of a smart zombie. The creature is taken in by Dr. Logan, who starts to domesticate the undead man in his laboratory within a military bunker. He teaches him salutes and allows him to become proficient in firearms. Bub even manages to unlock memories of his past life and communicate in mumbled sentences with the scientists who had taken him in. Their rapport soon blossomed into friendship, with Bub making no attempt to attack the doctor and remaining docile with him. It all seems well until until Day of the Dead heads towards its climax. You see, Dr. Logan is revealed to have been experimenting on the deceased members of the US military. This angers the leader Rhodes, who murders the Doctor. Bub then escapes and learns of his friend's demise, which upsets him to the point of actively trying to murder Rhodes with a gun. When Bub shoots the captain and allows him to be devoured by an undead horde, our smart zombie ironically gives him a military salute as a final insult.